Yes, Dev sir. So many students have heard the term GCC but don't fully understand it. How would you explain what a global capability center is and why India has become the top destination? Before you take that up, I just want to again kind of clarify that though we are sticking to the paper, but majority of the time people don't know when we are talking about GCC or when they're starting up their own company in a very layman language. What should they do? Where should they put up their offices? What tools they should need? How can they go on their path? And how can they scale? That is how it is.
So I'll just tell you a few things that are very, very essential to keep in mind. First is don't move away from the goal that you have. Right? Let's assume you're a CPA or you're a chartered accountant that's just completed and you want to start something like an advisory service, you want to start a tax service, you want to start an accounting service, right? If that is your basic goal, I would assume most of you here would have that as a basic goal. So where do you start? You have your qualification as you start with. Second, you start to understand what type of service you can deliver and what is that service that is needed in the market. So the evaluation is very, very important. I think one of the things that we don't do is we continue to do what we do without understanding where it takes us, right? That's most of us do that, right? Let's see what happens as we go along in the journey. I think that approach probably needs to change and see where do you want to get to with what you're doing. That's the foremost. Second, what is a support mechanism that you can gather to be able to get you to where you need to get to? I think that is extremely important. We don't identify that, or we are shy to identify that, or we don't ask enough to identify that particular aspect, right? Third constraint, of course, is resources. And resources, I mean, not just people, it's money, capital, investment, location, all of those good things. I think you start to work towards that in parallel, right? But again, don't lose the objective of where you want to get to. Your idea is to become a tax advisor, then you've got to start working in that fashion and then say, what is that resource I need? Where do I go and get that money from? Where do I get the people and technical talent from? Now that's where you get very basic as you start. Then the question is, a lot of people here may be at the basic already, but need to scale. One of the challenges in scaling, right, is what I would say is innovation. We completely lack innovation when we want to scale. You want to actually grow your business in terms of volumes, but you don't want to change your product mix or offering. And once you don't do that, you will stagnate at a point. Very important to have that mix of offering. So if you're doing tax services, can you start doing some tax analytics, for example, right? Can you start doing something else as far as that is concerned? Maybe you start to do something with international taxation. So that mix, right, is extremely important. Tax advisories, maybe. It's possible, right? So I think that is very important for you to then scale. Then last but not the least is then be able to be part of the community that you associate with, right? That's where you start to generate further leads. You start to generate intelligence, you start to generate a lot of social connects that will then allow you to basically scale. So I think these three things I'll stop with because there are other panelists who will give you a lot more ideas, but I think these three things have worked extremely well. Don't forget the most important thing that I've seen and it's worked the most as far as scaling is concerned is a lot of the ideas that I mentioned are basic. You will get to it somehow, but I think the innovation and the product mix, I think that's the one where people struggle with. Generally, that's what I've seen as far as I'm concerned. So that mix, just focus on that. You will definitely scale if you do it well, of course.